Hello, it's Tamara Hunter, and today is day number 257 of 365 Days of Awesome. Celebrate success through service. And I am so excited today to have our service hero. This is Holly Dickerson, actually also known as author Holly. She is someone I met a while ago, and we had an amazing experience, a real heartfelt experience that I never forgot. It was one of the first events I ever went to, and some of the things that now I'm kind of like, oh yeah, that's kind of, I've been there, I've done that. But one of the very first times I ever had an experience of quiet and interaction, it actually was with Holly. So, welcome, Holly. I'm so
Hello.
excited to share with you today.
Yay! Hello.
Hello. In fact, I'm wearing my scarf, and she has that pretty scarf on. I'm like, oh, I love it. You're with a tree, and anybody that knows that's with the next impactor, yes, I'm going to be doing a video about a tree, and she shows up. She's by a tree, and she's wearing a scarf, and I'm like, okay, wait a minute, I'm going to go get a scarf. So, oh, and I'm going to recognize as people show up. Thank you, Mikey Adam Cohn, for being here. I'm so excited that you are here to share with us, dear. And, welcome, yes, to the Service Hero
Hello.
family. We've got an amazing group of service heroes, and you'll get to know us all. Holly, so we were just speaking and sharing, and I was just saying, first of all, I love social media. I just don't ever take it for granted because I was able to say happy anniversary because I know you just shared an anniversary, and it was like, okay, and now you're retiring from, or you're starting to pass the baton within the Girl Scouts. And it was like, oh yeah, like you know what's going on when you're a member of social media, right?
Yeah, I know, and I'm a sharer, so I share my life.
And I love it because hello Kimberly, it's great to have you here with us, and you'll see one of the things I told you, this is a fun group. They're all saying hi to each other too. It's like they're having a little party within our little conversation. So
Awesome.
now, you are an author and you help people with positive quotes. And we were just talking about that. You've got some pretty exciting things that are happening in your world, don't you? Let's
Yeah.
go there, and then we'll start telling some stories, okay?
All right. All right.
So, tell us about your group.
Yep. Positive quotes. Yep. So I have a positive quotes with author Holly page, Facebook page, right? And it's not just one. I have several others, small little ones that you don't know about, but yeah, this one's like about 67,000 members on that one. But linked to that page, I actually have a positive quotes group where, it's like a community, right?
Uh-huh.
Um, and so I feed, positivity in there, and people submit positive quotes, and if it feels right to me, I'll let it through. If it feeds light and positive energy to the group, I'll allow it to go through. So, it's about feeding light and love and healing and positive forwardness to the world. And so that's why I do those pages, the page and the group. But the group is like, gosh, it's about 111, no, sorry, 311,000 people.
So
300,
so
yeah,
311,
yeah,
comma 000. So we're talking six figures, and
yes.
and and this is exciting because I know I've been like cheering on, and it seems like maybe it was as much as a year ago, but when did you hit 100,000?
Well, let me tell you this little teeny story about this group. So
Okay.
my media mentor, I was actually like, moderating her group, and of Project Forgive, Dr. Sean Duperon. And she's like, hey, you should probably, start focusing on your group too. And I'm like, huh, what a thought, right? At that time, I only had like, well, first she had told, her mentees, hey, everybody should start a group and link it to your page. Okay. So we all did that, right? And so that was like a year ago, November. So just a little over a year and like 3 or 4 months, 5 months, whatever. Okay. So I did that. And then, I didn't really do anything with it, for a long time, right? Maybe 6 months. And then, and I was moderating or adminning her group and of Project Forgive. And then she's like, hey, Holly, you should probably, focus on your group too. And I'm like, oh, what a novel idea. Okay, fine. At that time, I know it's really funny because I wasn't really doing anything in my group, right?
Mhm.
And at that time, it had like 1,000 people. Okay. It only had like 1,000 people because I wasn't really doing anything with it. Now, here's the thing. It hasn't even been a year since that conversation. It hasn't even been a year. At the end of June, the beginning of July is when I'm like, okay, I'll start focusing on my group. So it hasn't even been a year yet. It's been 11 months, not even 11 months, more like 10 months that I said, okay, I'll start
Mhm.
focusing on my group. And it went from 1,000 to now 311,000. People are asking me all the time, what's the secret? What's the secret? And you know what? There isn't one secret. There isn't a secret. So it's just a beautiful miracle. I'm just feeding light and love and healing and positivity to the planet, and people are drawn to it.
Mhm.
And I interact with the people, like the real people there. It is a community. People have bonded and made good friendships and relationships there, and it just keeps growing every day. And so, like right now in the queue, I haven't checked today, but seriously, thank you, Jeremiah. uh, so I haven't checked today, but there's probably about 2,000 people, maybe 1,000 people waiting to be let into the group. Last
Mhm.
night when I went to bed after my 26th anniversary date with my sweetheart,
Yes, yes.
yes, 26 years. I love him. I adore him so much. And except, he feels like I'm the one. Aw, he feels like I'm the one, or he's the one blessed to have me, and I feel I'm the one blessed to have him. So it's mutual, right? So
Mhm.
anyway, it was after that date last night that I checked, in the group, and there was 2,000 people waiting to be let in. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so, I let them all in, right?
Uh-huh.
And, I'm not strict in who I let in. However, if there's any cruelty
Oh, yeah.
or if there's there's zero advertising. I have a zero, what do we call that? Zero, whatever policy.
Zero
Thank
tolerance.
you. Zero tolerance policy. Any cruelty, you're out. You're out. You're banned.
Good.
With that many people, I literally do not have time to, I don't have time to
Babysit.
deal with that, right?
Yeah.
And so, no, somebody asked me yesterday. I was at a meetup, and they said, "Don't you even like have a conversation with them?" I'm like, "No." With 311,000 people, there's no way to have go through this conversation with them about why they're breaking, the rules of even being there. Um, so, it's about positivity. And when you join, those are the questions. You understand this is a place of positivity, high energy, high vibrations. Are trying to bring positivity to the world. And right. So, that's the reason for it. And, when the group reached 300,000, I put a post in the group that said, I love having you here. Thank you for being here. Today we reached 300,000 beautiful souls. And there's hundreds and hundreds of people, replying and saying stuff and to that post, and that they're so grateful for being here. And when they open their Facebook feed, there's that's what fills their feed is all this positivity. And so, and they are so blessed, you know, to have it. So I'm grateful that I can bring that light to the world, you know, whatever the miracle is that it's doing, you know, I don't know. I'm grateful that I have that opportunity. So for social media, I'm grateful.
So
Yes,
you're seizing the
I'm
day.
seizing the day. You're so funny. You have all these. That's so
Yeah, in
great.
fact, I have there, you're seizing the day.
You are funny. That's
Oh, well,
awesome.
you gotta have fun. Exactly.
Yeah,
You gotta seize the day, and
that's
I
right.
love it. And so many of our friends that are here watching us right now, they're seizing the moment too with each other, and I love it, because you know what it is that when you can have people that are good-hearted individuals and they're willing to have some fun and moment and time and share that fun together, it kind of goes along with, you have let's see, you have like you have a certificate, and you're in a laughter leader. Is
Yes, it's
that
a
okay?
real
Tell us about
thing.
this.
It's a real thing. I'm not kidding you. Certified laughter leader.
Yeah.
So it's therapeutic laughter. You lead. It's like laughter yoga, except with this, the World Laughter Tour organization. He actually adds in good-hearted living. You know, so like each day of the week has a specific theme. Gratitude day, and so he adds in to his training the good-hearted living piece with like a laughter yoga. And so
Uh-huh.
basically what I do is, I can lead laughter circles, and it's therapeutic laughter, and you lead people in these silly fun laughter activities. Yes, I laugh a lot. it is
I
it is therapy for me. It is literally, it's part of my being. Laughter
uh-huh.
is so essential to our happiness.
Absolutely. In fact, at Chemo Buddies for Life, one of the things, and I had this discussion today, I actually have it daily, because it's, have you had your daily dose of laughter today? Your daily
Mm-hmm.
dose of humor. And you got to, because, life can be a little too interesting if you don't, right?
It can be brutal. What are you saying?
Yeah, okay.
Brutal.
So focus on the next right move.
That's
And
right.
consistency is the DNA to mastery. I just love the stuff that you come up with, because it is so important. And you have this positive attitude. You have that smile, and I mean, here, when you share your pictures of going with the Girl Scouts and it's cookie cheerman time, or you're going out on these adventures, and you're one of those kids, and
Yes.
and you are having as much fun, I think, as they are.
Yes.
And that's huge, because not everybody has grown up with that perfect life, right?
Oh, my life has not been perfect, but
No.
laughter and having fun has been my therapy
Right.
through all the trauma that I've been through. Yeah. Yeah.
So So you actually, one of the things that you came out recently and said was that you were handing the baton to some of your responsibilities, because you take the Girl Scouts very, 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 they're very dear and very important to you. In fact, you're taking a year to get your next replacement kind of up and going, which I think is awesome. That's just
Thank
how
you.
wonderful you are. And
Yeah.
yeah, and not everybody does that.
Hmm.
And this program has got to be even that much more important to you, because of your childhood, right? you
Yeah.
you were brought up in, I mean, we all have stories, we all have those experiences, and you've decided to start going out there and sharing that,
Hmm.
haven't you? You've made a
Yeah.
conscious decision. And
Yes. Yep.
was it an easy decision to make?
No, no. Early life, I had a lot of traumas. Real traumas, and then I just buried it, and just kind of walked the other way. I didn't really accept them as part of my story, and so I never grieved them. I never accepted them as part of my story and pretended nothing was wrong. And literally, and and then, just kind of decided, okay, my life isn't going to be like that anymore, and I'm going to create the perfect life, which I did. I
Mm-hmm.
created the perfect life,
Yeah.
and then, gosh, then all the stuff like trigger, and some of it started bubbling up until the heat was put under there so so hot that the triggers just started. I call it my volcano eruption of my trauma, and it all just exploded. And literally, I sought out a trauma doctor because I could not do it alone. I could not do it alone. I could not find the healing or deal with it or whatever. And so I literally sought out a trauma doctor, worked with him for a year and a half, and got myself to a place of beautiful healing. And I had to go through the grieving. I had to go through accepting that it was all part of my story. I had to go in that dark cave and face the demons or the darkness, and go in there and understand it. And I had to clean out all the wounds. I had to clean out all the wounds, except they were part of my story, so I could start to heal them. And so that is part of my piece, is you have to go into the darkest part of your wounds, to the pain of it all. And I had to go through all the pain. And you have to be courageous to do this. It's not just brave, it's beyond brave. It's like courageous to the max, okay? And I had to face it all and feel the pain and grieve it all. And I went through the anger, I went through every stage. And I finally accepted it as part of my story. It allowed me to heal and embrace. But I'm telling you, that was a process. It wasn't overnight. It was, uh, it was a painful, painful journey, but I wouldn't take it back because it has literally been completely shifting my life, and it is allowing me now to feel so healed that when I went into those wounds, it wasn't like, what I learned is they weren't demons. They were the parts that were never loved, you know and I brought light there with it. And so those were the parts that were never loved. And so when we go into what the world calls facing our demons or whatever, it's not really our demons, it's the parts of us that were never loved. And so those things fester and fester and cause havoc in our life, because they need to be faced and embraced and healed, you
I
know
like that.
yeah.
Faced and embraced.
Yep. And
Like,
then healed. Yep.
and then healed.
Mm-hmm. You
So,
can't you can't heal something unless you face that it's part of your story and embrace that it's part of your story. You have to accept it. But
right?
I was in denial. I denied that it was, and there was all the shame and the blame, and and I was feeling shame for stuff that wasn't even my part to feel shame for. But I didn't understand that. I wasn't allowed to talk about my story because of stuff. I don't want to go into why, but other people's put these expectations on you that, shh, right, right. You don't
Yeah,
talk about it, right? That's the
right.
way it was. That's the way it was 30, 40, all those years back. So you didn't talk about it, and so it just lives in there and it festers. And then finally it just erupted. The volcano erupted, you know and so I knew, my mentor, Dr. Shonda Perrin, she of Project Forgive, actually, she was like, Holly, you got to, get rid of that shame, and you got to go heal that pain. And so I went on a healing journey for myself. And not only was it the hardest thing I've ever done, but it is also the best thing I've ever done for myself. Yeah.
You must have been going through possibly, I'm wondering, part of that when I met you, or you were at some point, because I remember very, very distinctly what what happened between us.
Yes.
And it almost took me back because it was like, whoa. And without getting into it too much, but there was a moment in time that it was like, wow, this, there's something big, there's something huge. And when we confirmed it, it was that when I was talking about that bonding, it was like, wow, this is much bigger than two individuals that are standing from, close to each other, and then hugging and all that kind of stuff. It encompassed so much more. And it was the very first time I'd ever had experience like that. And so much so that it made a huge difference even in where I wanted to go in helping people because of that moment. Because it was like, this is real. This is real stuff. There's no way of making that up.
Right.
And so I just want to say thank you.
Mm.
Little did I know, little did both of us know at that time that we'd be spending our time here talking about now how we both are out there helping others that are going through their times, to say, you don't do it alone, and there is healing, and that you can get through this, and there can be another, the light can show up, and you can have, laughter and healing and all this amazing positive quotes and everything. But the fact that you're sharing that you had to go through that to get to the other side, and that it's not easy, and I have to say, as I'm listening to you, almost there for a while, and not to make it really sound funny or anything, but I'm seeing a Walt Disney movie, and you have the knight up against the dinosaur, or the dragon, or whatever it is, and yet it's Holly, Arthur Hartley, because maybe the author part, and so I'm going off, but I'm just seeing it. I'm like, wow, this is huge. And so it is so huge that now you experienced something when you were 14. Do you want to talk about that at all?
When my father was murdered.
Yeah,
Yeah, sure, I can talk about it. Yeah.
because that kind of takes us into the next thing of what you've done recently, and I want people to kind of get a backstory to
Sure.
it. So you were sharing that before he was murdered, because it was that word, murdered. He was murdered.
Yes.
Before that, it was tough at home, wasn't it?
Yes. Yes. And I won't go into detail, but
Oh,
when I was, I mean, too much detail, but like, when I was, oh, hold on, earplug fell out.
okay, no worries.
Okay, gotcha. All right, can you still hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, so when I was a child, very, very young, there was some domestic violence going on, and so you know that was very painful, to witness, and it caused me extreme trauma, and I saw everything I didn't want in a companion,
Right.
and so literally that image, those images, is actually what promoted me in finding the love of my life, because you know that's what drove me to find the perfect guy, you know and when I say the perfect guy, I mean the perfect guy for me,
Right. Right.
um you know um and just, he's not perfect, but like, he's so gentle and loving and caring and kind, and he's so amazing. I just adore him. And 26 years, you would be thinking like, "Oh, what is left?" But I'm telling you, we are closer now than we've ever been. It's just so beautiful. But every relationship takes maintenance. Every relationship takes maintenance. And so, yes, early on in my youth, there was that trauma of domestic violence, and Having to see that, it just, you know, I was so little and I couldn't help her. You know, I couldn't
Mhm.
save her. And you know, and I wanted to, and it always broke my heart. And I didn't know it then, but as a sensitive or an empath, I was absorbing all that energy that was happening. And so, you know, I mean, we had to escape a lot for our literal safety, our literal safety. You know, so the outdoors became my haven, my heaven, right? Because we would escape to nature and away from the home, right?
Right.
So, you know, so when my father was murdered, it was back and forth. I wasn't just angry at the guy who killed my father. I was angry at my father. Why did you put yourself in that place? Oh wait, you know, I was like between love and hate. I didn't know how to deal with it. I hated him for what he put us through, yet I loved him. But
Mhm.
I hated the guy that killed him because he took that only, you know, I mean, I didn't know how to process anything. So we cried that night when mom told us all the gory details. And then after that, I don't remember ever crying again, and like, buried it so deep. And, yeah. So when I was 14, I mean, like an early 14, and I was still like a kid. I wasn't like the other 14-year-olds. I was still, you know, I mean, I had one friend who, I had these two sister friends, and one I would play Barbies with, and at 14, but I was like still such a kid. I
Right.
wasn't, you know, you know, and then her sister, we'd go do the grown up, the 14-year-old stuff together, you know, the teenage stuff. So, you know, I could have the both with both friends, right? I could be more grown up with one and still be my kid self with the other. It
Mhm.
was crazy. So, you know, my emotional development was a little behind because of all the trauma, and that, you know, I never figured out how to process, you know, and so I just buried it. And so, you know, those are two things that I had to, you know, deal with, you know, in the healing and accepting that they're part of my story, and you know, stuff like that. So
Right. And it was it wasn't like all of a sudden once he was murdered, it's not like everything went perfect then.
no,
It still became it still was a rough go there for a while,
yeah,
right?
yep. And it snowballed even worse after that, because then there were a lot of Me Too things that happened. You know, the whole Me Too movement and stuff. So stuff that I never talked about, and you know, that I'm just beginning to start be able to speak about. You know, a school teacher when I was a kid. That, you know, I was a young girl, and I hadn't even started my period yet. You know, so I was, you know, I thought it was just that I was molested or sexually assaulted by him, but it wasn't violent. It was actually a seductive relationship that, you know, and I was this kid who just seeking comfort, and
Right.
that's it, you know, love and comfort and acceptance, and yeah,
It had to have been because like you were saying, you didn't, here you had so many conflicted thoughts in
yeah,
regards to what was happening around that. And how could you not? Here he's your father, yet he's also someone that you were having to escape from to go to nature with your mother.
hmm,
And then how did you feel about the person that took your father's life? He took it. Okay, was that maybe good because he was gone, but then he's your father? That's bad. And how do you feel about all
yeah,
this? And then you're trying to go forward, and the family has already been disrupted because of just all of the circumstances, and then you go into your teen years. And so now that you've been through the gauntlet, you've been through the depths, if you will, and had to go through the muck and mire and the darkness to get to the light, to the other side, so that you can kind of bring it all together. You're out there sharing this, and you've made some interesting choices as to where to go to share it. Why don't you talk about this? Yes, that laughter person. Yeah, I'm so glad to see you back in the laughing thing, because you know what? It's a full circle thing. And the fact that you can now laugh about this, in the fact that, like, wow, would have ever thought that I would make this choice
I
to
know.
go
It's
out there?
amazing.
And if you were to even have said something maybe 10, 15 years ago, I bet you anything, it would have been like, are you kidding me?
Oh,
Right?
even a year ago, there would have been no way. I'd be
Okay.
like, what?
Yeah,
No
right.
way, you know?
Yeah,
I
in your
I literally
dreams, not.
I I had to go through healing
Mhm.
before it could come full circle for me to be able to do this. So actually, I know. So when I was through my healing, I was like, oh my gosh, I would like to be able to go in to a prison and be able to talk with prisoners and be able to share my story and offer forgiveness and love and compassion and understanding. And so, and then when I was at this Global Influence Summit in March, there was a gal that was talking about that she had this program that she actually works in the prison. And oh gosh, the name, oh, I would say the name, but it has literally escaped me. Anyway, oh gosh,
You
what
can
is the
always
name?
add it later if you want in
Okay,
the
okay.
comments. Yeah.
Anyway, so um, literally she was saying on stage as one of the speakers that she goes and is helping with healing in the prison. I'm like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And I got the a prompting to go up and immediately talk with her when she got off stage. And I'm going to tell you this is exactly how it happened, because I had already decided before ever going to this that I had wanted to go into a prison and speak with prisoners and talk about healing and stuff like that. And so when she was talking about it, oh my gosh, it literally like the door opened, right? I
Mhm.
She got off the stage. I went up to her and I said, "You're not going to believe this, but here it is. I got a prompting while you were speaking that I'm supposed to come up and talk to you. I don't know what I'm supposed to say to you, but what you were talking about, it really touched me." And so she said, "Well, tell me a little bit about what you're doing." And we, someone in tune would go with that, right? Someone not in tune would probably be like, um, well, if you don't know what you're going to say, well, bye. I don't know.
Yeah.
But she was in tune, and she's like, let's explore that. So I started, just telling what I was doing and stuff like that. And she said, and when I got to, like, I don't know how it came up in that story, but when I got to the part about my father's murder, and I was, want to help people heal and stuff like that, she's like, tell me more about that. And so I started talking about that. She's like, would you like to come into the prison and speak to the prisoners that I work with? And I'm like, yes, instantly. I literally instantly said yes, because before this had ever happened, I literally had already decided at some point I want to go into prison and speak to people that had done things like murders and rapes and stuff that I had been through, right?
Right.
So, like, so before the end of that day, I literally had sat with her and we started the process of getting going through the clearance for the prison. Because you have to go through clearance in order to
Oh,
go into the prison. Oh yes, high level clearance. So
really?
I am
Wow.
I you can't even have a ticket, right, to be able to go in. Okay,
Okay.
so like I have this for that one time I had high level clearance. Yeah. So
Wow.
I know, right? So, and it takes like 6 weeks to process that. And so she, asked, would it be okay? What could they do it in time? We got it the soonest I could possibly get in there. I was like, as fast as we can. Let's do this now.
I
I don't
love
have.
it. I love it. It's like, okay, after all these years,
I
after
know
all these decades, if you will, that now I'm on this side. Now, no time wasting. Let's get this
exactly.
thing done. And so
That's
we can
exactly it.
actually affect lives, right?
Right, exactly. And so we got it going. We got it going, and she had called me back. When I was back home from San Diego, she called me back and said, "Hey, the date we scheduled. I wasn't looking at my calendar. We either got to put it back a week or forward a week." And I'm like, "Forward."
Duh.
and and so I know it was really funny. She's like, "Well, let me check with the prison, see if we can even get the clearance in time." So she got back with me. They said they could do it. They said they could do it. So it ended up being 5 weeks instead of 6 weeks that I went in. You know, um, from that time, that we met, and so it happened. And then I went in. I flew into San Diego and went to Donovan State Prison, and for 45 minutes, I shared like 75% of my story. And in the first time that I had ever spoke about it in public, you know, outwardly to more than just my trauma doctor or a best friend or something like that, right? And
Right.
then, and they're in a circle, we're all sitting in a circle, but I stood up and I was sharing with them. And I not only shared my story, but I shared pieces that I wanted them to go away with, concepts that I wanted them to go away with. And um and then for 45 minutes after that, we went like around the circle, and they each shared what their takeaway was from my story, you know and it was beautiful, what they took out of it. It was just beautiful. And and after they shared what they took away, then there was like this moment where they thank the person for coming and visiting them, and I got to be in the middle of the circle, and then they say you're not allowed to hug them, okay? You can
Right.
shake their hand, but no hugs allowed. So, and
Mhm.
I wanted to hug them. We had like bonded, like I had like seriously connected with these people, and they connected with me, and they felt my love. They accepted the forgiveness that I was giving to them.
Wow.
I told them that I forgive them.
Wow.
Rapists, like, I've been through rape and a couple times, and, my father being murdered, and
Hmm.
domestic violence and all the stuff. I said, I forgive you. I'm offering you my forgiveness and my love. I'm offering you my love. And even a year ago or 6 months ago, I couldn't have done this, but I'm here now. I can do this now. I used to be so angry about all of it, but I'm not angry anymore. And it's not about blaming. And I don't feel shame anymore because I know that it wasn't about me. It was about what those people were going through. I get it. And so, it's not about shaming and or naming people and blaming them. It's not about any of that. That's not where I am. I'm not in that anger stage. Like a lot of the Me Too people are out there naming people, but that's not my purpose.
Right.
My purpose is not sit and blame people. It's bringing awareness and telling people they have to go inside of themselves to the darkest parts, and they have to heal that. Okay?
Right.
And then you can start healing. Okay? It's about bringing awareness so that things can change. You know, I'm not about naming and, being specific. It was this school teacher. It was this boyfriend. It was this murderer. It was this person that I reported it to that never reported it to my mother or to the police. And so I thought it was my fault, and they told me I had to go repent because it was my fault. And so like, and then more trauma because what? I'm this kid. I didn't even know, like, understand what was really happening. And so like all this stuff, people I could be blaming, but that's not where I'm at, and that's not my purpose. My purpose is to help heal the planet, but we cannot help heal the planet until we heal ourselves first on the very inside. Coaches, uh, and I may get some haters for this, but like there's this whole type of coaching where they say don't go into your past. Don't go into your past. You start where you're at and you move forward. That's some popular kind of coaching technique that they deal with. They don't go it's not about they're not about going into your past and healing that. But this is what I'm saying, we can't do that. I had a coach for a little while, and the difference between depression and sadness is like I really feel like there are so many people that have sadness that think they're depressed, but they're not dealing with the real issues. They're not dealing with the deep inner sadness, and so they just clinically depressed people, and that is different than sadness. So there's a difference. And I learned this through my journey because I went to a doctor and I said, okay, I'm so sad. I thought I was depressed. This person with all this happy and joy,
I
you know,
know. That's a
this,
laughter leader.
I've, even with all the sadness, I've always had this. This is my light. I've always had this, but there was always this deep inner sadness. And now I understand that that deep inner sadness was all this trauma that was never healed or faced or or coped with or any of that. And so that was the sadness, right?
Right.
But you go into a doctor saying, I'm so sad, I'm blah, 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 and they give you medicine and they say, you're depressed. But I wasn't like that kind of depressed, but they don't they don't separate it. And so they gave me medicine. And then I said, it's not helping. I'm still sad. Of course, you and I right now both know that it was the deep inner sadness, all that trauma, right? Okay. Well, here, let's up it. So they gave me more medicine and more until I was forced into depression through the medication. And
Right.
that I experienced. And I'm going to be writing about this in my book too, one of my books. But basically, it was like forced depression and that was severe depression. I was in this blackness that I couldn't get out. And, and and while I was going through that, I was like writing, this is not normal. Where's Holly? Where's Holly? I can't find Holly. You know, and it was literally this blackness. And I'm writing through this experience. Someday when I get out of this, I'm going to be able to share this with people, what it's actually like in this blackness, in I couldn't understand it. This is not me. Where's Holly? I've lost Holly. You know? Yeah. And that was through medication. And they just kept upping the dose.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what I needed. I needed healing. I needed trauma healing. And so I don't believe in that modern day coaching where they say, don't go into your past. They say, start now, blah, blah, blah. I'm all about you go into your past and you heal that wound. You go into the darkest part and you heal that. That's how you're going to heal. That's how you're going to move forward for real. And that doesn't take medication. That takes working with a trauma doctor or psychologist. I mean, he's a psychologist, or, right? Whatever they call him. You know, he doesn't give me medication, but like, I mean, we work with all the trauma, you know, and I sought out one that really I felt really good about. And I felt really good about like his technique. Have you heard of tapping, TFT?
Yes, yes, yes.
So, you know, it literally helps you. And he's going to train me in that so I can help, like, yeah, so I can take that to people too in the workshops I want to start. So, not just laughter, but TFT, you know, tapping. And so, literally, what that does, yes, exactly. You have to heal, accept, forgive the past. Yes. But you cannot forgive until you have gone through the healing process. Okay. Otherwise, it's like fake. Like, I
Right,
don't, you
right.
know. because you have not gone through that whole healing process, and that includes grieving. But anyway, tapping like takes you from the back of the brain, the trauma part of the fight and part of the brain, to the thinking part, the frontal lobe, and it literally tapping, literally, like what it does is it's tapping on your oh gosh, pressure points, on pressure points, and
Mhm.
and the certain, and you're doing it in like this rhythm of pressure points, but it takes you from that part of the brain to the thinking part of the brain, and literally within minutes you you are thinking differently. You can think like real and not fight and flight, right?
Right.
Which is what trauma immediately takes you into the flight and fight mode, right?
Mhm.
And so by tapping, you are able to instantly help yourself get out of the flight and fight mode into the thinking brain part. Yeah, it's amazing. So
So,
any sorry, go ahead, go
no,
ahead.
I was just going to say, because what you've done is brought us through a full circle here, in that you've shared the fact that we started off that what you're doing with the positive quotes and your laughter leader, and who you really are, and then how you got to really be truly who you are, and then knowing that you are there by going and facing, if you will, and forgiving those people that represent, in many ways, the experiences that you had, not the people,
Right.
but representing the
Exactly.
experiences. Are you going to go back into the prisons, or was that a one-time situation?
So isn't that interesting that you asked that? Because in that circle, when they're saying goodbye to you, they had me come into the middle of the circle, and it was really precious. And they give one word, because you're not allowed to hug them. They give this one word that that says everything they want to say to you about what they got from you. And it's like a hug, but in a word. It's beautiful. And we had connected so deeply, so lovingly, soul to souls, that they all went around and gave me a beautiful word, each of them, and they said, "You're family now," and it
Oh,
was, I know, it was beautiful. They said,
God.
"You're family," and at some point in the conversation, they're like, "Ooh, you could go through the orientation and get, I forget what it's called, but basically like a pass to be able to not just come through once, but be able to come back whenever I wanted. And so I'm actually going to go through the orientation. It's like a 3-hour orientation, and put that through to try and get um, you have to go through that process again to get cleared, and go through that clearing, so that I can get the year pass to be able to go in and see them again. I've actually set up a couple dates to be able to go back, and as long as the clearance goes through by then, right? To be
Right.
able to go back in July, and then again in August, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I would love to. I do have that intention, to go back, and you know, here's a Holly quote, right? So my before I ever heard of that program, having gone through my own process, my own healing work, right? This is what I came through with, is that healed people heal people, wounded people wound people. And so my healing can now can now start helping others heal, right?
Right.
But only through my healing. And when we're wounded, little did I know that my woundedness was seeping out in ways, even though I had built the perfect life, my woundedness was still seeping out onto other people. And I didn't realize, how much, until I started healing, me, right? Really deeply. And I can feel the difference. And so here's something. So, when when we are not healed, we are very judgmental of other people. This is what I figured out. We are very judgmental of other people when we're not healed. And when we are healed, then we can look at other people and say, that's where that person is in their journey. I'm not
Right.
going to judge them. That's where they are in their journey.
Mm-hmm.
And just to be understanding. And it may hurt, it may come across as hurt to us. But
Mm-hmm.
when we're healed, then we can look at that and say, that person is hurting,
Right.
and not want to have to hurt them back. And that's why where I'm at now is it's not about going and naming people and saying you did this, you're wrong, because I'm healed. And I
Right.
don't have the need to go do that. When we're not healed, we name and blame and shame. And when we're healed, we can just love people and forgive them. Yeah.
And what a beautiful, beautiful gift that
Hmm.
is. And who you are is exactly that. I mean, you're now coming full circle into who you truly are, who
Yes.
Holly truly is. And
That's
the
right.
circumstances of your life are no longer dictating, because we all have those. And I'm so very deeply grateful that you're here sharing this with us, because there are so many people that are saying, wow, you know what? I didn't realize how much those experiences are actually creating a cancerous or dark place inside of me. And I don't say cancerous by accident, because so many people that do develop cancer end up developing it because they haven't dealt with possibly stressors or things that have happened in their life for whatever reasons. And the healing that you're talking about, that, and I love that Hollyism, or the Holly quote, that
Author Holly.
author Holly. Yes, I
Yeah.
love it. I love it, because it's true that we can, healing will help, the healing, and then wounded people will possibly wound others. And I know I didn't say it right. However, that's why you're the quoter. You're the author.
Right,
There you
right.
go. And and I hadn't really thought of it that way. However, now I will never think of it in any other way, because it's so true. And now that you have gone through that time, and it is incredible to me, and yet I'm thinking, how is it not? Why am I thinking it's incredible? Because it seems so natural in many ways that you are now going and serving a community that at one time had, in truth, kind of put you in that dark place.
Yeah. Yeah, the same type of community that, yeah, I know, it's like full circle. It literally is. It's so incredible. And I felt like, I mean, not only part of healing for them, but that was like the full circle of my healing, right? Right? From
Yes,
beginning to where
yes,
those that kind of people had caused all those things, right?
right.
Um, to now full circle of having gone through my own healing process, and now coming back and saying, I forgive you, and I love you. And so here's a
Right.
beautiful thing. Like, I was able to look into their eyes and see fellow souls,
Mhm.
not a murderer, not a rapist, not someone who beat their family. I talked to them about things like, one of the concepts was about stopping the cycle, and
Right,
changing the cycle. You heal in here now. So
right.
when you come out, you can be a gift to the world, and you can share what you learned, and you can help bring change to the world. Because of what you learned and you've been through, I've gone through full circle. Now you can go through full circle, and you can come out and be a great citizen and healed before you ever get out, and then offer beauty and a gift to the world. Yeah. And
And
so
it,
I talked to them about that too. Yeah. Yeah. And so my um my purpose, my movement is about awakening joy in humanity, right?
Yes.
That is, and it is about, and it's not just doing one particular thing. It's about writing books that are healing for humanity. It's about going and speaking about healing. It's about speaking about things that cause trauma and helping people see that there is the end to it. You can be healed and move through it. It's about doing workshops and helping people plug in their information into this map I've created to help them bring joy and lasting joy into their life. It is about telling people they got to go into the wound and they've got to clean it out, accept it, and heal it so that they can actually have healing and move forward. And literally Sunday night, I got a message from someone who does documentaries around the world, not just in the United States, but literally around the world, and has gotten so many awards for his documentaries, and and has messaged me and said, "Yes, I would like to work with you and do a documentary." And I'm like,
I am so thrilled to hear that because you know it needs to be done. You are
yeah,
the perfect person too because you know you have an ability to enlist emotions like no others. There's very few people I've ever met that has that ability to do that. And I mean, guys, have you not been gripped? Absolutely. I mean, so many have been wow and truth, and you know, so many have been engaged in what you're sharing. And oh, please hashtag live or hashtag replay, and so that we know. Um, in closing, would you, number one, be open to sharing in the comment how people can follow you, how they can be a part of your group for positive quotes, how they can support you or learn more about you? And then I cannot wait to be following because I know you'll share as you continue this because you really are going to help so many people to heal. And
mm-hmm.
as they heal, they'll be able to help heal.
Yes,
Instead of
exactly,
that circle of the other. We
right,
don't need that anymore. There's been too much of that. You know, healing is such an important piece and sharing that unconditional love of which that's what you're doing by going in there and in the end with that one word, you know, and creating that family feel with these people that I bet you anything were thinking that they wondered if they would ever feel what it was like to have a family's love, a member from a family's unconditional love. And here you are offering it to them. That is a beautiful story. And it's a story that, yes, we're talking about the prison system, but this is a story that translates into all sorts of different areas because if someone's been wronged, if you will, and hurt. Too many people are holding on to that as though
mm-hmm.
it's like it's become a part of them. But in letting it go and doing the work because there's work to be done. It's not
Oh
easy. I
yes.
know I've done it too. You have to do it though to get onto the other side. But once you do, there's a whole different feeling to life, isn't there?
Oh, yes. It's like literally, I feel like I'm transforming. I feel like the butterfly has finally emerged from the cocoon.
Right.
And that inside that cocoon, when you're doing that healing, it is, I'm telling you, it was the most painful thing I ever did.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But when I embarked on that healing journey, I knew it was going to be painful. But I knew that if I didn't do it, I would be stuck forever.
Right.
And
Right.
it's the only thing that has set me free. It has literally set me free emotionally, in every way. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And what I have to tell you is that the trauma and holding on to all of that, it did cause some. It wasn't cancer for me, but it did put me in the hospital, and
Yeah.
it did cause a chronic situation for me.
Right.
And so I'm hoping that the more, that eventually maybe that would be healed for me too, I could have that hope, and
Right.
so maybe with all this healing, things will start, maybe my body will start,
Yes.
following suit and start
Yes.
healing too. I would love for that to happen. Who knows, but
You know what?
you
And
know
I wouldn't be surprised because it's amazing what I have witnessed, and anything is truly possible, and you now are evidence of that. And thank you for being so real and so open with us today, because I know that there's going to be people that are going to hear your words and your story and say, wow, I'm ready. I may not really think I'm ready, and if you at all feel as though even a portion that you're ready, because in the end, it is so worth going through what you have to go through to get
it
to
is,
that other side. It's so worth it.
it's
It's so
worth
worth
it.
it. It
It's
is.
worth it. It's
It is.
definitely worth it. And
Yes.
yesterday, I actually met with someone and was telling her my story. And I gave her a copy of my book. You want me to show my book real quick?
Sure. Yes,
Okay.
please.
All
Yes.
right. I don't know if you
Oh,
could
it's
see it.
upside down.
Oh,
The
the
voyage, but
voyage.
it's upside down. So turn it. There you go. The voyage.
Okay. The voyage.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The voyage. Um, it's the voyage, finding the beautiful gems of my being. But
I love
yes,
it.
it's different than any normal book. Okay, so let me
Okay.
just. Do you have a minute? You want me to
You
tell
know
you?
what? We're here with you, so let's
Okay,
do this. Yes. Yes. I
okay.
love it.
So it is totally different than any other book, and here's how it works. So one of my adult daughters did 20 watercolor paintings. Okay,
Uh-huh.
as part of the story, it is like an adult storybook. But then, and the character takes you through a scenario and teaches you something. And then at the end of the story, there's 2 pages of questions. And
Oh.
what that does is you answer those, you think of one of your challenges, and then you answer your challenges with those questions in your challenge in mind. Um, and so it's like taking a voyage. Each challenge can be a voyage. And so you can go on as many voyages as you want, as many challenges that you have. And basically, when you answer those questions, it helps you to shift your thinking in that challenge. So it takes you through where you're at and maybe being stuck in that challenge and starting to shift your perspective. And that's what those questions do for you. And so it's kind of like a workbook, you know?
I
So it's a
love
storybook with workbook questions, and you just get a journal and you start, you write down the question and you start writing the answer. And when you are working through that with those questions, you're processing, you're thinking. It's like taking you through your own journey, your own voyage of what the character learned, and not being, it's amazing. And you can totally shift your thinking just in any situation. Just you go through those questions. And so sometimes, like, I do a broadcast on my positive quotes group
right.
every Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So when you join, I used to do it live on the page, and then I'm like, wait, more people are watching inside the group. So now I actually do the broadcast live
In
in
the
the
group.
group. Yeah,
Okay, so they
yeah.
have to go to the group, but we're putting this up because I didn't have the page. I mean the group.
Okay,
So
no, that's
this is
fine.
the page, but you
Right,
want to go to the group.
right.
Okay. All right.
And I'll put the link up to the group
Yes,
in the
please do.
comments below.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and so yeah. So when I do a live broadcast, and so we have given away some of my books, and then um, I'll work with some people on just walking through the questions with them and working with them. So it's do I have more books that I'm going to put out? Absolutely. In fact, before I started on my trauma journey, and this was a year and a half ago, I was ready to release another book, and something kept saying to me, stop. There's something you need to do before you release this book. I'm like, what is it that it's missing, or that I'm supposed to do? And I realized I cannot release this book series until I do my trauma healing journey. Because what was the book series is about a character going on a self-care journey. And I felt, you know what? I would be like a hypocrite, right? I'm not even like doing self-care. The greatest self-care I can offer myself is going on that healing journey. And once I go on that healing journey, then I can be an advocate for self-care, the best self-care ever in the world, right? And so I cannot release this book about self-care and teaching people, right? Because even I was stuck on, what questions do I help them shift their thinking, like I did in the first book? I couldn't come up with those questions because why? I hadn't truly gone through the transformation myself. And so now when I do release that book about, the self-care series with this character, I will have personally gone through it. And yes, exactly. And the questions will be different than they would have been back then, a year and a half ago, right? They're
Right.
going to be completely different. And they're
Right.
actually going to help people really make a difference. That's why I was held back from it. Don't. It's not time, Something's missing. Now I understand exactly what it was. Yeah.
Perfect.
Isn't that
So
amazing?
it is truly amazing. You are truly amazing. Can
Yay.
you do me a favor and put all of the links in, how to get your page, your group, the to get a hold of the book,
Uh-huh.
anything like that, because
Sure.
there's going to be so many people that they're going to want more, because I know, I do. I just absolutely do. So, as we close today, is there something else that you would like to say to everybody before I wrap this up and say why you are such an awesome super service hero?
Okay, let me think. You know what? My whole life has been, I wanted to let you know this. My whole life has literally been in service to humanity. Whether 23 years ago when I started being in service with Boy Scouting, and then 21 years ago simultaneously in Girl Scouting, and and um, and now I train women how to be confident in going into the outdoors and their skills, and you know and I'm getting ready to start my own workshops. That I've always been, I mean, like you say, a service hero, but I've always been out there serving humanity. And here's the thing in that I've learned in this process of being a service hero that you call it. If we cannot be of service to ourselves in that self-care, I crashed hard because I was giving everything I had. If we cannot be of service to ourselves first and love ourselves unconditionally first, then we're going to crash. We're going to get sick. We're going to whatever. We're going to get those chronic things, our bodies cannot handle that. So an author Holly quote right here is, love yourself unconditionally first, then everything else is manageable. And here's another one. Until we can be better for ourselves first, only then can we be better for others.
I love
Right?
it.
So it has to
Absolutely.
start with us. From the very depths, it has to start with us. Just like the healing, it has to start with ourselves first. So that's what I would want to leave in your being a service hero. That you got to start with being the best service to yourself first.
Well,
Okay.
you are an example of what a service hero is all about.
Mm.
You truly are. So, as we close day number 257 of
Woo!
365 days of awesome, celebrate success through service. Holly, You are truly an example of amazing. You are unconditionally wonderful. You're loving. I love your smile, your laughter, your energy, everything about you, your
Yay!
story, and your willingness to get out there and serve. You are an example of everything that I believe is good in this world. And, I'm not putting you on a pedestal, promise
Right.
that one, but close. Yeah. So thank you so very much for sharing this time with us. You
Thank
are
you.
just absolutely precious. So don't forget to put all that information in the comments, okay?
Okay. All
All
right.
right. See
Thank
you
you.
later and see everybody else tomorrow. You're
All right.
wonderful.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.